Alright, day 12, 31 days of horror Halloween, and we finally come to what I consider to be the first legitimately great film in the 31 days of horror canon that we're looking at this year, 2015. And it's a film that, for the life of me, I can't understand why it doesn't get much more recognition, especially considering its pedigree. And the fact of the matter is, it's not so much that people don't praise it as being one of the greatest thinking man's horror films ever. It's the fact that there are a lot of hardcore horror fans that don't even know this movie exists, which is absolutely astonishing to me. Well, anyway, the name of this film is The Ninth Configuration from 1980, and it is absolutely terrific. It's one of my favorite unsung horror films from the era. It might be my top 10 from the 1980s, and there's a lot of good stuff that came out that era. And the thing is, if you've never heard of it, this is going to blow your mind a little. I need a little bit of backstory. The director of the movie is William Peter Blatty. Now, if that name sounds hauntingly familiar, it should. It's because he's the guy that wrote The Exorcist. And The Ninth Configuration is sort of an unofficial sequel to The Exorcist. This is basically The Exorcist 2 as William Peter Blatty wanted the film to be. Now, it's kind of convoluted, so I need to kind of go back to the backstory here. Before William Peter Blatty wrote The Exorcist, he wrote a book called Twinkle, Twinkle, Killer Came. And it was this movie about a dude who goes to Vietnam, and he may or may not have started a mailing massacre type thing. So he comes back to the U.S., and he's in a mental institution, and that's kind of the story. So anyway, after The Exorcist came out, he actually rewrote it as The Ninth Configuration. So it's basically the same novel, but with a couple different changes, some character additions, to basically make it a semi-sequel to The Exorcist. And if we all have seen The Exorcist 2, and it's a piece of garbage, this film absolutely dominates it. I think William Peter Blatty himself said the reason that he chose to do this film in particular is because he felt that audiences, after watching The Exorcist, kind of walked away with the wrong impression, feeling that evil had won. And he wanted to make this movie to kind of make up for it. You make a definitive statement and say, no, look, good won. The positive side of the supernatural, or whatever that is, came out triumphant. Here's a way to reiterate it. And I guess in that, calling The Ninth Configuration a traditional horror film is a bit of a stretch, but I think it nonetheless works, because it's basically about mental illness, it's about faith, it's about fear of the unknown, it's about mortality, it's about second chances, it's about a lot of things that horror films typically struggle to cover in a very sort of genuine adult way, and this is definitely one of the better films, one of the smarter existential works out there in the horror genre. Alright, so what's the plot? Well, basically it's kind of a modification of the Twinkle Twinkle Killer Came plot line. But it does have a tie to The Exorcist though. Okay, remember the part in The Exorcist where Reagan goes downstairs and pees in the carpet? Okay, the astronaut. There's a guy, he's the guy that, he's an astronaut, he's going to run a mission, and Reagan says, you're going to die up there. Okay, well anyway, he's basically the main character in this movie. They don't come out and say he's the same character, but he's the same character. So apparently he's just going on a moon mission, but he freaked out the last minute, and he's going crazy. I don't know if he's acting like he has Ganser syndrome or whatever, but they decided to put him in this institution out in the Pacific Northwest, where NASA and the military put like all of their top-ranking advisors who are having psychotic episodes. And basically, it really is an example of inmates running the asylum. You just got guys running around. You don't know if they're faking it to get out of duty. You don't really know what they're doing, but it's just absolute zaniness. So it's kind of like a weird, satire, and kind of like a bizarre comedy, in addition to being this really tense and thoughtful, philosophical horror film. So your mileage will vary on what you think of that, but it's just so many genres thrown together. So anyway, and then the secondary character comes in. He's Colonel Kane. He's this big shot from Vietnam who comes back, and he's a psychologist. He's trying to talk to everybody, and he's like, you know what? Let's help these guys out. They'll think they're crazy. Let's let them be crazy. Let's indulge in their craziness. Go out and buy them puppies and costumes and let them run around doing whatever. And eventually they'll realize that they're mad themselves, and they'll snap out of their senses, and they'll come back and go back doing their job. So that's pretty interesting. And he's played by Stacy Keach, who looks absolutely unrecognizable if you know what he looks like today. And actually, there's a movie coming later on with Stacy Keach in it. You look at him in that configuration of that movie, it's just worlds apart. But Stacy Keach, the colonel, and the astronaut, they have a lot of conversations about whether or not there's God, about the afterlife, about what being altruistic is, basically whether or not humanity is inherently good or whether or not humanity is inherently bad. And like I said, it's such a philosophical movie. It's the kind of film where you're supposed to sit there with a notebook and study it. And I saw it for the first time like in 2009, 2010. I thought it was brilliant. So I haven't seen it in a long time, so I can rewatch it. And it's a film that's just like The Exorcist in the fact that every time you watch it, you kind of glean something new from it. There's some like new words of wisdom, there's some sort of insight, there's some quote, there's some take, there's some angle to get you thinking differently about, philosophy and spirituality. And that really makes this film way, way apart from a lot of the movies we're talking about during our 31 days countdown. So at the end of the day, it's an absolutely beautiful film, very well thought, great dialogue, very considerate, lots of intellectual things going on, very smart. A great film about theology and what else? Just a really good film. And if you're wondering, does it have the horror dynamic? Yes, it does have the horror dynamic. In fact, there's actually one nightmare scene in this movie that's one of the best I've ever seen in a movie. It's a part where the astronaut is having like a nightmare about being on the surface of the moon. I mean, it's just really just awesome. I'm going to give away what happens, but it's pretty terrific. So it's there. It's not, a straight up and up horror film, but because it is, I think it makes it feel way, way different and actually a lot better than most of its genre contemporaries. So if you haven't seen it, for all intents and purposes, go out and say this movie is terrific. I'm giving it my highest rating. I'm giving it 4 pieces of candy corn out of 4. And you know what? One of these days, I'm actually going to do it. I'm actually going to have the real Exorcist trilogy showing. I'm going to show The Exorcist, The Ninth Configuration, and Legion back to back. And that's pretty much it. That's the best horror trilogy ever made. Point blank, done, forget it. Romero's Dead movies, the Evil Dead trilogy, not happening. This is the best. This is as good as horror gets with these 3 films. If you haven't seen The Ninth Configuration, go see it. Like I said before, it's remarkable, it's brilliant, it's a hidden gem, and it's certainly way, way better if you want to expand your notions of what the genre is. You need to check it out, and if you haven't, you really should. So, Ninth Configuration, 1980, William Peter Blatty, fantastic, fantastic movie. You need to see it.